Good morning, everyone. This is the live trade room for Friday, August 26th. It is 9:11 a.m. Eastern time. And the ramp, or a ramp, I don't know if it's the ramp, has begun. Actually, I think it began yesterday afternoon. Such is trading, right? You sit around waiting on something to happen, trying to figure out how to take advantage of it. And there it was. There'll be other opportunities. Right now, I'm not, I don't know at this point what it would take to get me into a trade. One thing it would take to get me into a trade, if we trade below this pivot low now, right here, this is a Globex low, but if we trade below this pivot low, I'll go short lightly with a loose stop. But chasing this thing higher, this may be one of those days that if there is a good trade, it might be this afternoon. I don't know. When we have market action like this, that's gamed and based on news and stuff like that, it just makes it very problematic. So we'll just have to deal with the hand we've been dealt. And we'll see what happens when cash market opens at 9:30, then Powell speaks at 10. So we'll see what happens, guys. Okay, good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. The show has begun. We're trading right at last night's close. Big spike up, big spike down. Shocking, right? Be patient, be disciplined. I think a trade below 41.80 for those that have a high risk tolerance may be a good short. Realize anything you do, especially in the first, I don't know, at least half hour beginning at 10 o'clock from 10 to 10:30 is going to carry a much greater amount of risk, meaning you're going to have a tolerance for retracement that is probably large to find out if the trade works. If you cannot afford that, do not trade until probably 11 o'clock at least. And if you are going to trade, regardless of the size of your account, you'd be well served to trade small. Okay, it's almost 9:59. We have about 1 minute until the betting window closes here on this particular trade. And if you are trading this, that's what you're doing. By the way, I'm not saying don't, just be aware of what you're doing. A trade below today's cash low is a short. The caveat is that the ranges of the short-term fluctuations in this market are probably going to be nuts for 10-15 minutes. So just know what you're getting into. Now, if you want to go long, same thing applies. You can go long against today's cash low if it takes out the cash high. But again, you have to use a wide stop, and you have to be willing to endure extreme fluctuation. Okay, it's 10:09, and my dogs are going crazy because they are. Anyway, this cash high right here is going to be very important. If it comes out, it's probably bullish. And then the cash low is important. If it comes out, it's probably bearish. Okay, it's 10:26 a.m. Market is still digesting whatever he said and or is saying. I don't have it on. Breadth is negative and sloping lower. We're near the lows of the session. We're not too far from yesterday's lows. If yesterday's lows come out, I think a rout could be underway. Now we're inside this noise range. As time passes, I trust more and more the structure of the market. Now on the short-term charts, I think right now you'd have to be short, but you're not outside that downside range yet either. So, but if you're right now based on short-term charts, and I'm looking at a 1 minute, you'd have to be short. And again, you know, your risk tolerance, you're going to have be able to tolerate a wider range than against your trade than you might be used to. So just be aware of that. Okay. Here we are. You got to be favoring short trades. If you go short here, I think it's a pretty high probability trade, frankly, but you're going to have to be willing to endure a retracement before you can get a good stop. And if it just bungee jumps back against you, that's the risk. But I don't think that's going to happen based on price action. I want to go to a 1 minute chart and I'll show you guys a couple of things. Now, I keep, full disclosure, I have multiple screens and I keep time frames up so I don't get lost in the weeds, okay? And you can get lost in the weeds trading a 1 minute chart. So I'm really not trading a 1 minute chart. I'm executing off of a 1 minute chart, if that makes sense, because it helps me control my risk. So I went long right here. And I stopped and reversed right here. So my stop now personally is break even here. But if this market, what I'll do now, what I want to see, you can see, we really haven't had, we've had very little retracement. This is pretty, this is a lot of conviction. This looks like real selling to me, but what will happen, you'll get some sort of pivot like this. And then what I will do, I will lower my stop to somewhere above this pivot that forms. But you're going, and you can also, we're so far below these moving averages that you're likely at some point to come up and kiss at least the fast moving average, form a pivot, that type of thing. But as I've tried to explain, know the market condition you're trading, know your risk tolerance, know your trade plan, know your comfort level. And if you can't trade in an environment like this without freaking out and making good decisions, then wait until you can make a good decision. But this market now, if we look at, let's look at the daily chart here. I think this level is in play now. If this comes out, this could be a rout. This is certainly a critical high now. In any time frame, today, next week, this will be a critical high. It's 10:39. Breadth is negative 1955. Today has a chance to be a real washout type of day. And we're in that 4130, 4102 level. If we close below there, this thing could get really nasty into next week. So you do not want to be buying this. Do not go long here. Okay, we're having a little bit of a blip to the upside. Now, as a general guide, this is a lot of conviction from here. This is today's cash high. And so far, this is today's cash low so far. Now, what a concern that this is not going to be that dramatic downtrend day would be if we retrace more than, if we get above, let me just see what the 50% retracement is. I think this is it. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. This will tell us the one time I use a Fibonacci tool. Don't hold it against me. Okay, so here's the 50% retracement level. Now, I do this not because it's Fibonacci and all that other stuff. It's just my general observation over the years that when you have conviction, you really should not retrace more than half of that conviction. So this is going to be an important level back to the upside if we get up there. And frankly, we shouldn't get up there under a bearish scenario. So this is a line where you start to say, okay, are they going to jerk this thing back through it? Breadth at the moment is negative 1932, is sort of leveled off. So keep an eye on breadth. And remember, it's the slope of breadth that's important, not necessarily the absolute level. We're in an area, and here's the daily chart. So we're in an area in here where you could get some pushback and some stalling because you can see how many lows have been formed in this area. There's daily lows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're in this area for the 6th time on a daily low. So some pushback in here wouldn't be too surprising. On the other hand, if we get below here, you are truly in an elevator shaft. Okay, 1057. Peter, if you're still there, that's smart. That's good trading. Go for a hike and play your guitar. Okay, so 11:09 a.m. Breadth is negative 2,000. It's on its lows. 41.1075 is Wednesday's session low. So we're rapidly approaching that level. That would be an very interesting level to keep an eye on. You're really getting in the lower cusp now of this downside key reference area, and breadth is super negative. You're not trying please don't try and buy this. Please don't try and scalp this from the long side. That's a mistake that 90% of the soon not to be with us day traders are making at this point in time. Okay, it's 11:11. Just to give you an idea of what institutional selling can look like and the ranges involved when the institutions decide that they don't want to be in it, or they want to sell it, or whatever. This will give you an idea. So back in June, this was a wide range down day. That's where it was. And then the next day was a wide range down day. And then the next day was a wide range down day. So this is not an unreasonable level to watch for today. In here. So we'll see what happens. That's what is this? This is about 40.90-ish. I'll mark that on the trade room chart. So if something similar to recent conviction days occurs, you're looking at something down here, possibly today, quite possibly today. Okay, 11:14. Something else I want to point out. We've come a long way in a really, really, really short period of time. We're not even 2 hours into the cash session. So we're not going to go lower all day at this rate of change. So the market may have a period of balance, of two-sidedness, et cetera. I would still be favoring the short side of this market. But if you're jumping in here now and you're using, you know, tight stops, you're going to get stopped out, probably. It's 11:37, and not unexpectedly, the trend has slowed and we're getting some two-sided trade. I think this area up here, this general area, is now an important area. I would be a little bit surprised if we got through this area. If we get up into this area, you may want to look for balance areas to sell. I'm not saying we will get up in that area. I'm just suggesting that this would be a pretty healthy retracement. Now, there's a balance area right here. If you choose to sell these balance areas, I think that's a reasonable trade. I would rather sell them than buy them. Breadth is still negative. It's negative 2100. It's sloping a little bit higher, but breadth is going to fluctuate during the day as well. Breadth can get a whole lot lower than it has been today. And it will be important as the day goes deeper into the afternoon to watch the slope of breadth. Okay, it's 12:25 p.m. Eastern time on Friday. You can't be trying to buy this thing. You just cannot do it. There's no reward to risk. The trade is to the downside. If you haven't taken a trade today and you just can't stand it, go short. But you're going to have to use a fairly loose stop. The stop would probably have to be about 41.25. But even if you did that, I would think that by the end of the day, you'd be positive. That's just sort of a gross idea, and it sort of encapsulates what I think about what's going on here. We're approaching levels of extreme downside days based on the decline back in June. This has a similar feel to it. And if that's the case, then we're going to have more big time downside next week as well. So factor that into your trade management decisions. Breadth is on its lows. It's negative 2,100. It can go a whole lot lower. We are in the lower cusp of an extremely important key reference area. Below this area, where this thing stops is a guess. So as a day trader, you cannot be trying to buy this market. As a position trader, I would not suggest trying to buy this market either. Today's session high, the cash high today, which is also the futures high today, is going to be the level going forward to the upside, at least at this point in time. Now, if we go lower next week, then we'll have the previous day's high thing coming into play. You guys that have been around a while know how that works. And I will be discussing that and reminding you of that. But barring some sort of miraculous, I don't know, buying in here, you got to be favoring the short side. You're not going to be able to use tight stops. The market is likely to sort of slow its trend between now and the close. How much downside is left in this thing? I don't know. I showed this level earlier here. I'll show it again for those of you that may not have seen that. Okay, so what you're looking at here, this little box, this is the equivalent levels of these 3 large down days that occurred back in June. This has a similar feel to it. So this would be similar to what we saw back in June on an individual day basis. Now you can also see back in June, and this isn't a prediction, it's just an observation. In case you want to play the oversold game. We're oversold. Well, we were oversold here, we were oversold here, we were oversold here, and we didn't bottom until here. So that's why oversold, overbought, oversold doesn't work. It never works. So this level in here from about 40.90 down to 40, the low 470s, is not an unreasonable target for today. Could it go lower? Yeah, it could go lower than that, but that's what I think is a reasonable idea. Now, the other thought about today is I'd be shocked if we don't close on the lows of the day, or now this is a big caveat, the lows of the day. Let me put it this way. I would be shocked if the lows of the day don't occur between 3:45 and 4 o'clock. Now, you can have some sort of wild shenanigans that bungee jumps the thing 15 handles right at the close. But if that happens, it's going to be after 3:45. So I think the low of the day today is most likely to occur between 3:45 and 4 o'clock. I'm about to run out for a little while. I will let you know when I am back. And Be disciplined and patient. Okay. It is 3 o'clock on Friday, and we have hit this level suggested that was a real possibility under the scenario of a wide range day. Here it is. And the other thing that I think is going to happen, looks like it's going to happen as well. I don't think you'll see a low in this market before 345. Now, it's possible that they spike it into some sort of low 15 minutes before the close, and then they bungee jump it back. I don't know. Or they could just trade it straight into the close. Right now, Brett is making lower lows for the day. It's just made another new low for the day. So, as I've been saying, you only trade this from the short side. You don't try to play catch the falling knife. It's not worth trying to scalp 10 points in the ES, risking 15 or 20 points to do it. You're better off selling it right now and risking 15, 20 handles than the other. It's just not smart trading. Now, on the other hand, it's Friday afternoon. If you've had a good week, cash in some of your chips, turn off your computer, and have a great weekend. If you haven't had a good week, don't make it worse at this point. I will be here through the close. I'll talk about this at 4 o'clock, and we'll see what happens between now and then. But right now, you want to be short or you want to be flat. Now, you can get, obviously, we are in a very, very wide range that if we close here, this would be one of the more extreme ranges we've seen in a long time. So this is not, there's no good reward to risk trade here, long or short, frankly. Just be aware of what you're trading if you're trading. Okay, it's 3:42. We have about 18 minutes until the cash close. The breadth is sitting on its lows. Now, there's a great chance that this thing follows through next week, and probably very early next week. I would not at all be surprised if we don't see a big down day on Monday as well. At 4 o'clock, I will come in. But if you're trading multiple contracts, this is one of those trades where I think you almost have to consider. Of course, I don't know what your trade plan is, and I want to trade for you. But maybe you take something home short. Okay, 4 p.m. on Friday, and we have had an epically extreme down day, and this has tremendous implications for the immediate trend of the market. The immediate trend of the market is very likely to continue lower into next week, and this most certainly brings into play the June lows. This is the most conviction we have seen, gosh, this year. I think I'll go back and I'm going to do a more detailed weekend report over the weekend that I'll have out. But this is more selling. There's more conviction today as measured by range and possibly breadth. Breadth is going to go out at about negative 2,300 or so. So this is certainly comparable. Let me pull this over. All right, this is the S&P futures. Now, this is today's range. It's the cash range as well. This high was the cash high as well. This is the cash close. Now, where we trade in the next few minutes, it's not going to matter. This was the the highlight. This is this annotation. I posted this early today as to what the possibilities were if we saw wide range down day, similar to something that we saw over here where we had these wide ranges. And this was the quote unquote target. Well, we're closing below that level. We're closing below anything of substance from an auction market perspective. I don't use magic numbers, specifically Fibonacci numbers and all that stuff. You know, the market will inevitably stop somewhere near a Fibonacci number simply because there are so many Fibonacci numbers. Good luck consistently picking the Fibonacci number. But I don't want to go on a rant here about that. The salient thing that's occurring today is this incredible conviction and what created this. Okay, the fundamental news does matter. It sets an expectation. It sets a range. This is the beginning. This is part of a distribution range. In other words, this is an upper extreme, and we're in the process of probing for that lower extreme. Now, where that lower extreme hits remains to be seen. The same thing happened over here in June. We had the very wide range down day, or it looked wide range at the time. And then we had even wider range days for 3 consecutive days before we begin to balance somewhat. Now, inevitably, some of this may be retraced. It depends on how far we go down before we bottom. But trying to guess that is unnecessary and can be very, very costly. So another salient thing today is that the momentum in this market is down. It's likely to be down. It's extremely unusual to have momentum this strong retraced. The typical thing would be, you know, and it depends on what we do early next week. It depends on Monday and Tuesday. But by the middle of the week, if we sell off hard on Monday, then by Tuesday, okay, maybe you're getting a little bit cautious, pressing the downside, and things begin to get more two-sided. But based on where things are at this point in time, I would not be at all surprised to see another wide range down day on Monday in this market. Again, I will have a complete review of all of the indices in detail, as well as the breadth work that we keep. That should be a pretty good guide in this thing. I'll have that out to you. I'll try and have it out by Saturday evening, but it will certainly be out by mid-Sunday afternoon. You guys have a wonderful weekend. And again, I'll have that report out, and then I'll see you again on Monday morning.